So a few months ago, around December time, I had like 4 loose packs of Vivid Voltage just laying around that I didn't really want to open. I thought I'd do something interesting with these 4 packs. And so after a bit of scouring on Facebook Marketplace, I found this guy who was selling the Yu Nagaba Glaceon for like $25, which at the time was about like $5 over market price. It was about 20 bucks. So I thought, why not give it a shot? Shoot this guy an offer. And to my surprise, he actually took the deal. You know, you just want to open some packs sometimes. So I pulled up to his place and we did the trade, and it was actually pretty cute. He took my packs and he just gave it right to his kid to open right there, which was really wholesome. But anyways, I got this Glaceon and it was actually really clean. Pretty good condition in my books, so I decided, at my own detriment, to send it to grading. Now the reason why it's a little bit of a risk is because the cost for grading PSA bulk is $15 per pack, and $15 is nearly the cost of the whole card. So if I don't get a 10 here, I kinda just wasted all this time for nothing. And so after a couple months, I get my submission back from PSA, and here is the results. 2023 Scarlet Violet Japanese Glaceon grades as a 10, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Pretty good. It's in Japanese, so they do a better job there. So there's a lot of PSA 10 pop score. So pretty relieving, but not too much of a surprise that I hit a 10 here. So yeah, now I'm sitting on a $90 card. I guess technically worth 75 minus grading costs. The thing is, I wasn't trying to do some like crazy trade up challenge. This is just something that happened to happen. So I was like, okay, let me just cash in on this. Let me put this on Facebook Marketplace, see if I can get any better deals with this. And after a bit of time, I got a pretty good offer. A PSA 8 Radiant Collection Sylveon. I knew this was definitely an offer I was gonna take. First of all, Sylveon is just a very popular Pokemon. I mean, all evolutions are, so I don't think I'm gonna have much of a problem trying to sell this off. Also, the Radiant Collection is a really popular line which has a lot of beloved cards that people love collecting to this date. Lastly, I just like it personally. I've never had this card, and to have it in a slab protected, pretty sick. A pretty cool story about how I turned 4 packs of Vivid Voltage into a really cool Sylveon card. Anyways, enough of me stroking my own schmuck here. I think I did drag on the intro a bit long. What's the moral of the story? Well, it's that no matter how small your collection may be, 1 pack, 1 card, there's always potential to grow it exponentially. And all you have to do is have enough squiggles in your brain and listen to the tips I'm going to give you in this video. This is going to be an ultimate guide of things I do with my cards that barely take any effort, making me a nice lump of cash on the side that I immediately spend on more Pokemon cards. And when I say it takes 0 effort, I literally don't do anything and make a couple hundred every month on Pokemon cards. I spend most of the time, you know, just sitting there playing Fortnite. So yeah, this is going to be a more serious and super transparent video that's more aligned with the business side of things. And it's not like I'm some huge collector who has like my background filled with cases of ETBs, 20 base set Shadowless Charizards, 15 Bubble Mews, 16 Moonbreons, 20. My whole collection's worth like $3,000. But I still make a decent amount here and there by just being wise and understanding the things I'm going to tell you in this video. Because I'm sure you're going to want to capitalize on those extra few $100 and get yourself some more cards too. So the first question is, where do I get my cards? I mean, if you want to sell cards, then you have to have cards to sell. It's not like you're obtaining all of your super rare cards and turning a profit by ripping open a bunch of packs. I mean, I know that I'm not that lucky, but I think I'm getting a text from my buddy who just started collecting cards. OMG, I just got this super cute card. I love the Eevee Pokemon. Espeon or something? Anyways, is it worth anything? So, where do I get my cards? Well, it's not really much of a secret here because I get them from 4 major places you probably know. First of all, we got TCG Player. Super simple. If I want a card for my personal collection, this is where I usually get them. There's usually like a 70% chance that I'll find the card I want for cheaper than eBay. Unfortunately, there's usually not going to be a picture associated with the card. They just type in the quality of the card, near mint, moderately played, you know the full gist. So this isn't somewhere where you're going to like get a whole bunch of pristine cards that you're going to immediately send to grading, because that's not really the purpose of TCG Player. It's really just where I get cards for like personal reasons, because I just want to collect them or I think they'll go up in price someday. Sometimes though, you will get lucky and get a card that's in really good condition. Last month I bought a Gengar VMAX, just the regular VMAX, but I was inspecting it and it had some pretty good corners, so I sent it in for grading and got a 10. And that's just something that happens sometimes if you train your eyes to see which cards are probably 10 contenders, but that's a topic for a bit later. So there's no picture, but one of the pros is that you can buy in multiples a lot of the time if you're just trying to get multiple copies of a single card. One downside is that it's not the biggest marketplace. It's one of the biggest, but it's definitely not as big as like eBay, which we're going to go into. But I love that you can always see the history of prices on their website. Like, you're just shopping and you can see where the price is at now, where it could possibly be going, and if you should buy at what is the peak price. All right, next we got eBay. I'm putting this next to TCG Player because they're kind of close. What I like about eBay is that there's pictures of literally everything you're going to buy, and what you can also do is search sold listings so you can see the exact price that you should be aiming for when buying cards. eBay has the biggest marketplace you're going to find anywhere. If you have a really niche card that you want to find or buy, then that's where you want to find it. If you want something super vintage that's not really sold anywhere else, you have a chance of finding it there right on eBay. TCG Player is missing a ton of different cards. Like, you're not going to find any Poncho Pikachus on TCG Player, but eBay, that's where they're all going to be. All the big hitters that are kind of hard to find are probably set on eBay somewhere. There's also a bidding system, which personally I'm not very good at, but if you're one of those people that's really good at sniping products, that's like your thing, then bidding could definitely work out for you a lot on eBay. If you're good at it, you can consistently get things for about 80% market price. Anyways, another thing about eBay is because there's so many more products you can buy, there's like international options. For example, last week I got a couple of the Korean Ditto promos. Really cute. And also I've gotten a few, like Chinese 151, different booster bundles, those gem volume boxes on eBay for cheaper than they are on TikTok Shop, and just foreign stuff in general. Now, I do know that there's cheaper ways you can buy these products, like through a proxy and through like a warehouse that gives you an address in the country that you then can ship to your own house. I don't know how all of that works, but I'll throw in a tutorial because I actually saw one last week that was pretty good, where you can actually just directly buy products from Pokémon Center Japan and all these other places. Like, I don't know the specifics, but I'll throw in a link in the video description. It can save you a ton of money, is what I'll say, if you really like Japanese cards or foreign cards. That was one of the options I was going to talk about, so I'm just going to say that was option 3. Last of all, and one of my favorites, is Facebook Marketplace. I know there's different apps that do the same thing where you can shop locally, like OfferUp, but Marketplace is going to be your biggest bet, like the biggest market of local things. Now, I'm a bargain buyer, so I love to sift through the thousands of horrible posts just to find the one gem in there. Because I'm gonna be honest, 99% of the stuff you see on Facebook is garbage. I only pick up something once every couple months. When you do, like, it's pretty good. Like last month, I picked up these 2 carnivores. This one was under market price. This one was market price, but the thing is, this card is super clean. All of the I don't know if I can, I'm too lazy to refocus the camera, but if I did, you could see that all the edges are perfectly sized. The back is super clean. There's no really dings. That's just a pristine card that I might just send to grading for market price. Because usually when you look at market price cards on like TCG Player or eBay, they have kind of funky centering, you know, something's wrong with them. But this bad boy was market price and super clean, so an easy pickup for me. And I also grabbed this Squirtle just yesterday from Marketplace. I've always wanted to get this Squirtle, and I managed to cop it for $50. I threw in an offer for 45 because he was selling it for 55, but we met in the middle at 50, which is still a pretty good price. It shot up all the way to 75 and the market's gone back down, but I managed to get it at the price that I've always wanted to get it for. And I don't think that's going any further down. Maybe you can quote me on this later, but this Squirtle and the Bulbasaur are like the top chases from Stellar Crown. I know there's SIRs, but these guys they're more beautiful. But a great pickup at $50 that I got yesterday. Because the thing is, this is another point, a lot of people sell cards on there. I do too, at like 80%, 90% market value, because it's a lot easier just selling locally, getting cash and not having to go through the hassle of shipping a card and, you know, printing it out and putting it in a letter and doing all that stuff. Not that that stuff is hard to do, it's really easy. It's just a little easier to just, you know, sell it locally. But following up that point, because you're actually meeting up with people in person, it's a little riskier, okay? You don't get the protection of just, ooh, ship card to some guy who lives in mainland China, or ship this to this person who lives in or Kentucky, Maine, I don't know, Nebraska. So yeah, it's riskier like meeting people up in person, but that's why there's reviews. Like, if someone has bad reviews, they're like, yeah, this guy's a pretty awful person, and they never showed up to our meeting time, then I'm like, nope, it's not worth it. or if they have like a bad attitude and that's reflected in their reviews. A bit more riskier on the personal side of things. I think it's pretty worth it. Also, it does take a little more extra time working out deals. You have like full blown out conversations between people. They call you a racial slur, you ghost them, they block you, you know, the whole gist. Lowball offers, counter offers, the whole shebang. One of my best pickups these past couple months was 2 Magneton Pokemon Center promos. They were, I got them both for $90 with the additional normal promos that come in the little sleeve. And I know the market price has dropped down a lot lower than what it used to be. Like those Pokemon Center Magnetons used to be $50 each, and I know they're a bit lower, but I got them for $90 for 2 plus 2 promos, normal promos, and they were actually really clean copies. And guess what? 2 PSA 10s, which leads perfectly into the next segment, which is how to grade cards. I know I make it seem like a really easy thing to do because I'm just crazy good at it, okay? Call me a genius. 80% PSA 10 gem rate. I'm a bona fide expert, okay? But the thing is, grading is simultaneously one of the best and worst things you could do to your collection that could completely tank all of your money if you do it the wrong way. But if you do it correctly, you can easily triple the value of certain products in your collection. First of all, one of the most important things that a lot of people don't do is the flashlight test. I use this flashlight I got from Costco. It has this like wide lens and you can focus the lens like that. Boom, wide. There you go, I can show it like that. And what I do is I take this and I scour, I hold the card raw. I know, raw. Very scary. And I just take that raw card and I give it that good old bright light treatment. Some people use UV lights because apparently those are slightly better for seeing imperfections. And, you know, even though I have this flashlight, I used my phone flashlight for the longest time and it worked just fine. Like, I have the same stats now that I did when I used my phone flashlight, so it really doesn't matter. Just use a light to see if you have any dents or scratches or dings. The centering is one of the most important parts of grading. It's basically what differentiates like mint card with a near mint or a gem mint card. And if it isn't right there in the smack dab middle, you can't classify it as a perfect card, which is what this arbitrary new market that people just made up is wholly based on. Now, a lot of people use centering tools. There's these little plastic things that you line over the top of the card to see if it's exactly there. Or if you have iOS, or there's like an app that you can use that's pretty good for centering, where you just take a picture and it tells you the centering. I'm gonna be honest, I've just been using the 2 little balls in my skull for the longest time. If my little blurry Asian eyes can see centering just fine and can grade a lot of PSA 10s, then so can you. Subreddit that I'm following, it's called Pregrading or something like that, and you can just look at all those cards and see what people say in the comments, and by looking at more cards, you realize what's more in center and what the guidelines are. It's something that happens over time, but it's really easy to get. A few tips. One of the most important things isn't just left to right centering, but top bottom centering, because that's one of the things that's messed me up on a few of my PSA 9s. For example, here's a card that I just graded recently. Let me change the focus so you can see it a little better. It's a Zacian EX, and it got a PSA 9. And that's because if you look really closely, this bottom border is just ever so slightly thinner than the top border. I mean, it's not ever so slightly, it's pretty clear. And because that bottom border is too thin and the top was too thick, it marked this down all the way to a PSA 9. Literally everything is perfect about this card. Just that top bottom centering is what messed me up. And that's all it takes, really. Like this Gardevoir I showed you earlier, the left-right centering is flawless. Like, that thing is beautiful. But the bottom is a bit too thick compared to the top. It has the opposite problem that the Zacian had. The bottom is the side that's a little thicker, and that's why I can't send this one for grading. But this Gardevoir that I was talking about earlier, this is an example of a card that I'm going to send in for grading. The edges, the top and bottom, are very, very, very well sized. I'd say maybe the top is a little thicker, but like, it's definitely within guidelines. It looks almost perfect. Left-right centering's perfect. the image isn't like angled. If you have a white scuff in more than one of the corners, then personally I don't send it in. If it has one little white scuff in one of the corners, then I think it's fine. If there's multiple white little corner dots, as I call them, or if the centering is really bad on the back, then I don't send it in. But they're a lot more forgiving on the back centering, and this card too also has like really good pretty good centering on the back too, so it's definitely within guidelines. And that's what makes this one of the cards that I'm definitely sending in to PSA. Now, in terms of which grading service you should use, it really depends. What's most important is that you want to use one of the main contenders. Like, you want to use a popular grading service, because grading services that are cheaper, that like are new and don't have enough market testing and haven't been proven, those cards can be more useless even in grade 10s than raw cards. You're going to want to use CGC, PSA, Beckett, and Tag is like the new guy that people are thinking about. We don't know yet. I think I'd give it a bit more time on Tag because they have a good concept, and if they pull it off, it's fine. But I won't get in that whole debate, okay? That's a whole shebang that we can talk about in a different video. But I will say one thing that Tag does correctly is they give you a high quality, high resolution picture of your card in their like factory when they like ship it back to you, and you can use that high res photo to sell it on eBay or whatever platform you want, and it makes things a lot easier for you, the consumer. So yeah, props to them on that, but I won't comment on anything else. Anyways, in terms of most of your modern bulk illustration rare SIR needs, GameStop BSA submissions are pretty much the way to go, but I mean, it depends on whether you trust your GameStop. It's the cheapest, most accessible way, but if you're submitting some high valuable cards and you've never tested your GameStop before, then I might send them in through your own ways and means. Just ship it directly to PSA and pay bulk pricing. Because personally, my GameStop has a 100% return ship grading rate. They've never lost anyone's cards. I've talked to them about it. They're really proud of that fact, and they're pretty good people. I like my local GameStop, so I'm always going to trust them to do that. But if you've never tried them out, you don't know if any packages have gone missing, and they're like it's new to you, then don't ship your most expensive cards. I do like a test run with your cheaper cards. But PSA is definitely the most accessible option. TGC is also, it's one that a lot of people use because, I mean, it's cheaper and it's quite popular. Pristine 10s you get sometimes make it definitely worth it to submit to them. That's why I highly suggest you send your illustration rare Japanese printed cards, because Japanese printed cards, they have a lot better print quality because they use different factories. But usually it's not worth the cost to send them to PSA, but to go to CGC and send them there and get pristine 10s. Now on the opposite end, if you have a high value card that is in absolute pristine condition, like it's got to be perfect in every single sense. You're going to want to take that bitch, put it in Photoshop, and line those pixels up to see if the edges are 50-50 split. Because if you get a perfect 50-50 split on every single edge, the back is flawless, not a single scuff, not a single dent, nothing wrong with it, and you submit it to Beckett, and you get a what you call a black label 10, because if you didn't know, I should probably explain. There's a normal 10, and Beckett does this thing where they do black label 10s, which are cards of the most perfect quality possible. I mean, it's obviously a made-up market that they've created, but people dig this shit, okay? People are deep into this, and they love these cards, the black label ones. On a high-value card, that thing can make it worth like 5 times the value of a normal PSA 10 or Beckett 10 card. Thing to consider. It's probably not going to happen in your lifetime, but if it does, sure, send it to Beckett. Anyways, I think I've gotten a bit off into the deep end and a little bit too niche in terms of grading, so I think you know everything you should know for a basic beginner and even intermediate at this point. So let's move on to the next topic, which is turning cards into cash. Just like the stock market, having a large portfolio worth a lot of money doesn't mean anything until you hit the sell button. Let me tell you, talking from experience, some cards are very hard to sell but are still worth a lot of money. There are hundreds of listings with $20,000 cards, but they don't mean anything until someone actually buys them. Finding a buyer isn't an easy task, and that's why I tend to focus most of my collection on popular Pokemon. Getting a lot of chase cards is actually a decent way to having a very liquid collection that's still worth a lot of money. because those chase cards are chase cards for a reason, and they will most of the time grow over time. I collect a lot of exclusive Pikachus, base set starters, Greninja, personal favorite for me, Gardevoirs, as you can clearly tell from the things I picked up off Facebook, and obviously any Charizard or Eevee Evolution cards that you can find. Those are some pretty liquid, popular cards that I tend to pick up in my collection personally. So yeah, the start of turning your cards into cash is having cards that people want. Not surprising. So let's start with where you should sell them. First of all, online. Now the good thing about selling online is that there is such a huge market, you sell a lot faster than you do in person. Now obviously, like if you're like at a card show, that's a place where you can sell cards fast, but the main point is you have an easy access to a huge market online. Obviously starting your store is very difficult, but once you build up that rapport and get some good reviews and do a good job shipping, then it just makes everything a lot easier. And also a plus side with using platforms like eBay is that you get a lot of buyer protection, but as a seller, you also get a lot of protection for things you sell. There's a reason why they take 20% of your sales or whatever percent for whatever price range. There's a reason why they're taking that money, because when that card gets lost in transit or whenever a buyer is complaining about this or that, something went wrong, they think the card is fake, eBay will, out of their own pockets, help you out. Another option, if you are a large store owner and you have a lot of products, is you can open your own card site, make your own website and place your cards there, and you can earn 100% of the profit. Obviously, the downside to that is that you have to do your own marketing, you have to post on your own social medias, you have to attract people to your website, but once you do, you get 100% of the profits, which is very nice. Another one of the big things that can be complicated in terms of selling online is shipping. I didn't know how to ship when I first started to sell cards online, but that's why I have a whole other segment later in the video, like right after this portion. So what about selling cards in person? One of the things that most anybody can do from their home is just sell on like local platforms like OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace. And the good thing about doing that is that you can just sell at like 90% market price if you're feeling like lucky, or 80% if you want to sell things quicker, and you'll usually find a buyer. You'll get the same cost as if you shipped it online, except you don't have to do the whole shipping thing and you just get it cash and in person. Now, it does tick you off a little bit. If you're a little angry and you want to choke out some people when they give you horrible lowball offers. Oh, Charizard EX, did you do $100? I mean, that's a pretty good offer. I know what it's worth, and that's a $100 card right there. Kill your. Sometimes I want to. It's fine to lowball a little bit, but like a quarter of the price, really. Anyways, that's a little annoying, but yeah, when you're selling locally, there's smaller audience, so it may take a little longer to sell your cards, and you're probably going to get a lot more trade or like different like sealed product offers instead of like cash deals. Cash deals is a little harder on local platforms. That's why online is king in terms of actually making straight up money, but you can get some good trades in on Marketplace and local platforms. You just won't be getting as bigger like cash outs unless you have like good condition cards. But another thing you can do is find local vendors that like go to actual trade shows that buy product at 80%. It makes it so much simpler. I know a guy who buys any product for like 80% locally, and I just give all my stuff to him whenever I don't want to like actually find a hard buyer. Like I had a couple cards like the Gengar I told you, plus a Feebas and a specific Surging Sparks Pikachu that also got a 10, and Darkrai V-Star. I mean, that's more popular card because it could have easily sold that, but I bundled the rest of those and I sold it to another guy at 80% market value. Got rid of those cards that originally would have been a bit difficult to find market like people for, and I got all of it in straight up cash. So yeah, that's a good way to get rid of things that are like don't have big markets. Now on the other hand, there is one pretty good option that will give you 100% of your money. I mean closer to 100% of your money, and you can sell a lot of cards at, and that is just going to a trade show. All you need to do is go to your nearest major city and look for trade shows. Usually they're about $50 to like $120 is the most I've seen for a spot, but usually they're around the $50 mark for a location on the vending floor, which is pretty cheap. And you can sell your entire collection on the spot if it's a good day at 100% of the market value. You just become a vendor for a single day, take all of your product, your whole collection that you have stored, and it's a great way to sell all of your cards, you know, at full market value. Now, you will have to probably rent one of those big display cases and, you know, bring all of your cards safely and do the vending part, mark all the prices on all of the cards, do that whole shebang. It's not like free money. You do have to put in some work, but it's a great way that I always suggest to people with big collections to get rid of all of your product and get 100% of the money. It's definitely worth the drive, especially when you have a multi-$1,000 collection that you want to get rid of all at once so you can, like, I don't know, pay for your kids' college or something. That's basically all the ways I mainly know of and do. There's like other ways you can sell on Whatnot and Whatnot and like other websites. But yeah, those are the main platforms, and that's really all you need if you're like casual collector like me, even a bit more than what you need actually. So now to the final part that I really wanted to dedicate an entire segment to, because I wish someone told me this earlier, is shipping cards or any product. I mean, nowadays, like in daily life, you really don't need to ship products as an average person. Like growing up, I didn't need to ship packages. Every once in a while, I would go to like USPS and drop off a package at the drop-off box for my parents. But like, I didn't ship packages as a kid. Like, I just didn't need to. If I wanted to order a present to someone who lives across the country, I would just go on Amazon and input their address and let Amazon send it to them. Like, it never occurred to me that I would be shipping things to other people and selling things online. But I learned, and that's why I want to make it easy for you guys. So, like, skip this part if you already know, but there's some good tips in here that you might want to listen to. Because if you don't ship properly, you can totally ruin your online business and your reputation as a seller, which is never, I mean, that's not good. So first of all, let's talk about shipping single cards. So let's say like you sell like a $30 or even like a $70 card online and you need to ship it. How do you do it? So what most people do is they just ship it in an envelope. And all you really need is 3 items. So first of all, you actually need the envelope itself. Now these are really easy to find. You just go to your local grocery store, or I go to my USPS because they sell them too, and you can just get like 30 of them for, I don't know, pretty cheap, like $10, probably less, maybe a little more. The second thing you need is stamps. So I'm going to mainly direct this to people in the US because like that's where most of my audience come from. So I'm sorry if it's a little different for you, but the basics should remain the same. So first class mail forever stamps cost about 73 cents. And they're like the basic thing that you can find everywhere, and they never expire. Like once you get them, you can have them forever and they still work. As I said, they're 73 cents each, and every single stamp has a weight limit of 1 ounce. You can put 1 ounce of weight inside the letter itself, the envelope, and as long as you have 1 stamp on there, an international stamp, it covers the whole thing. And if you have multiple cards in an envelope and it weighs more than 1 ounce, all you need to do is stick another stamp on there. That's why sometimes you'll get a letter with multiple stamps on it. Just put another bad boy on there and you're good. Now the third thing you need is semi-rigid card holders, sleeves, top loaders, what do you call them? Just semi-rigid ones is what I'm trying to say. The reason why you want to get semi-rigid ones instead of these traditional top loaders that are like really stiff, you know, and don't bend, is because the mail system, like mail goes through pretty wonky places, and the card's gonna bend a little bit as it goes through the different transport and shipping phases that letters go through, because they put them through a lot of machines. And sometimes if you ship a card in a straight up top loader, because the plastic is so rigid, like they literally won't ship your letter and it'll just be returned to the return to address. I've had a shipment that I tried to send to my friend in a top loader to protect it a bit more, and they shipped the card back to me, or the envelope, the letter back to me, because it couldn't go through their processing system. But I've never had a single issue with the semi-rigid holders. They still protect the cards very well. They still do a very good job of protecting the cards. They keep them rigid enough and not take any dings or dents and ship them perfectly. I've never had an issue from anything that I bought that's been shipped in a semi-rigid sleeve. And I feel like I shouldn't mention this, but obviously put that bad boy, put the card in a soft sleeve before you put it in one of the top loaders or semi-rigid holders, so the card doesn't, you know, get scratched. This is common knowledge, but just throwing it in there for the one person who doesn't know. You're gonna need soft sleeves too. You want to keep it on, I think it's the right side of the card, because apparently it's usually safer on the right side of the card, and right on there like do not bend, so obviously it doesn't accidentally get bent by like people who handle it trying to shove it inside someone's mailbox. And of course, just write the usual stuff you need to put on a letter, and inside print their receipt if they bought it online. Throw in a couple extra stickers. That's what I like to do. I always save the stickers I get from like buying Pokemon products. I keep them on my desk and I throw in some extras in there, you know, just to keep people happy. And it always works, and everyone's been satisfied with the packages I've shipped through the mail. Now, one of the things you shouldn't do when shipping in the mail is use those little cardboard protectors. Those things don't do a very good job. A lot of like different individual sellers and companies buy these things because you can get these little cardboard protectors. I wish I had some on me, but I'll put a picture on the screen, and it just sucks. I've had cards shipped to me like warped and a little like bent and funky shape. Cardboard isn't very, you know, moisture repellent, and like just putting it inside this plastic thing. So that's why I highly advise you to stay away from those. For single cards, if they are a pricier card, I would definitely use bubble mailers. Bubble mailers are great for just adding some extra protection on a single card and just wrapping in a little extra bubble wrap. Like my favorite card, which was shipped to me from China, was wrapped in between two like big bubble foam things. I don't know. And they were inside a bubble mailer too. And the card was in between like a big like protection, big pocket of air. And it's actually this card right here, this Garchomp, that was actually in really good condition. So I sent it to grading and got a 10, but they shipped it very well. So that's a great idea to use those bubble mailers for the higher like $100+ cards. Even like anything above $50 I would do in a bubble mailer, because what, they're like 50 cents each. And for the letters, you just drop them in a drop box. There's like, you turn up your flag if you're at a residential home. In my apartment building, they have a little slot for you to put letters that are sending out. And so I just throw them in there in my little apartment, little mailbox thing for shipping out letters. You can go to different Dropbox locations and drop your letters in there. You've probably seen them before, and those work too. And boom, that's all it takes to ship a single card. Now for shipping everything else from Pokemon sealed products like ETBs and slabs, I would definitely just use a normal box. Now personally, what I do is I just keep the boxes that I get from products that are shipped to me. Like I have a whole stack right here. It just sits right next to me, and it's just, I'm trying to turn it so you can't see my address. It's just all the boxes of stuff that have been shipped to me, and I just keep these boxes and I ship out other things using the boxes that have been shipped to me instead of like throwing them in the recycling. All I need is a casual collector. Now, if you're not saving your boxes, all you need to do is go to your local grocery store or your local USPS, FedEx location, UPS, you know, whatever you have nearby, and they have boxes. Boxes are everywhere. Or you can just like raid a recycling bin. And so what you do is you take one of those boxes, you carefully peel off all the things that are on there, and you get some sort of dunnage material. A lot of people use like brown paper to protect their stuff. I don't really like that stuff. I sort of stick to anything bubble. Bubble is king. Bubble will protect just fine. Air bubbles, you know, they're just better than the shitty like brown paper, like for example like this stuff that companies use to ship things. This sucks. Pokemon Center uses this, and it blows. Okay, it absolutely blows. It doesn't protect anything, but there's ways you can make it work, so I'm sure it's fine if you do ship it with like the little paper things. But people really like their product to be in very good condition. You can get some nasty reviews if you don't do a good job protecting the product. So protect those ETBs and make sure they're shipped carefully. Just give it the good old baby shake test, throw it in the box, and if it's like, you know, it's gonna be fine after getting bumped or shooketh, then it's fine to ship. And so if you sell something on eBay, eBay is pretty nice because they actually give you a shipping label. So you can just buy a shipping label on eBay, you scan it, and then you show the guy at the USPS that you have like a QR code, and they print out the shipping label, boom, put it on the box, boom, ship it out. Now you don't have to use USPS because it doesn't have the best rep, you know? I mean, I won't get into too deep, but just use whatever shipping service you use. I mean, the more pricier you use, the better quality you'll get. And most importantly, the peak of this video, the one secret tip that no one has ever told you before: invest all of your money into ends PP up.